Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Infinite Power and Love book study. Welcome to all of those joining for the first time. We are at a very, very juicy part of the book. We're on page 83. We're on the step 9 promises. I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone doing service on this meeting. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Lois. And just a massive thank you to Howard and to Young and to Kristen for covering me whilst I've been away and working and all of that. So here we are on page 83. Let's just do a little recap. So we're in step 9. We're going to go to the page where the steps are. So page 59, and we'll just read steps 8 and 9, just to give us a little recap of where we're at. So step 8 is made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Notice the double alls in that one step. This is really trying to drum home that we are trying to sweep away the wreckage of our past, all the persons we had harmed. And the simplicity of step 8 is we're just making a list. And actually, when they refer to it in the big book on page 76, they say, where is it? We made it when we took inventory. So where it says now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we had harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. So they're really trying to simplify it for us. They're saying you've actually already written your list. It's all the people on your inventory. And just going back to page 59, we'll read step 9 together. So, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So, what Kristen and Young did a little bit of over the past couple of weeks is talked about the guidance in the book around step 8 and 9. And it says, you know, it can be harder to go to somebody that we the man we hated, but actually this is more beneficial to us, and it gives us loads of sorry, I'm a little bit distracted because I'm not at home and I can hear all these different noises around a house that there's not my own. So yeah, so they give us some examples here. They're like, okay, most alcoholics owe money. Thank you for the love. I see you. Most alcoholics owe money, and then perhaps we've committed a criminal offence. They talk about all of these reparations that take innumerable forms. Thank God we've got sponsors today that can guide us through. And a really simple question that I always ask sponsees whenever I'm taking them through the work is, do you believe you've harmed them? Have you caused harm? Because if you've caused harm, and obviously we'll talk around, you know, if it would cause more harm to make the amends. To give you an example, there's a lot of, you know, sponsees have been in relationships. They may have harmed previous partners. And yes, it's a definite, I have caused harm, but would it cause more harm to go back to that person if they're in a new relationship, if they've moved on, if that might cause more harm? We'd be cautious before we did that. So, and then they gave this brilliant, lovely example of where the guy, you know, he accepted the sum of money from a bitterly hated rival. This is on page 80. Denying that he'd received the money, he used this incident as a basis for discrediting the man. And he stood up in church, and his action met widespread approval. So they said 9 out of 10 times the unexpected happens. And in this step 9 part of the book, it also tells us, so sorry if I'm jumping around a little bit. You don't have to follow me with the page numbers. I will say them just because it's how I remember. But bits that jump out at me is on page 76, it says, remember, it was agreed at the beginning that we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. It says on page 77, but our man is sure to be impressed with a sincere desire to set right the wrong. It says, under no condition do we criticize such a person or argue. I always love, you don't have to jump there, but on page 98, it says we avoid arguing and fault finding like the plague. And with my sponsees, I go, like the what? And they go, like the plague. I see you, Lynn, because the plague is going to slowly and painfully kill you. We're avoiding that like the plague. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I can forget that. I can find the critical or the fault finding in others quite easy for me to do. The language in here is very, it's very strong, isn't it? So it tells us loads of times, under no condition do we criticize or argue. And on page 79, it asks us again, just a page over, it says, reminding ourselves that we have decided to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience. We ask, so we pray, that we be given strength and direction to do the right thing, no matter what the personal consequences may be. It says, we may lose our position or reputation or face jail, but we are willing, we have to be, we must not shrink at anything. And then, it says on the other page, we must not lose our fear of creditors. So it's telling us again and again. There's another bit in step 9 where it says we have to, sorry, it's on page 80. It's just on the second to last paragraph. It says he saw that he had to place the outcome in God's hands. Goodbye to those. In God's hands, or he would soon start drinking again. So there's loads of juicy information in here. Another really important part to focus on with step 9 is at the top of page 80. It says, before taking drastic action, which might implicate other people, and I've got little numbers here, we secure their consent. So that's the number 1. We secure their consent. That's a direction. Hi, Rob. Good to see you. And then it says, if we have obtained permission. So they're double checking if we have, and then I've got a question mark. Have I obtained permission? Because with my first amends, with my mum, I didn't obtain permission. She got in the car one day and I went, Mum, I've got to tell you all these things. I'm really sorry about everything that I did. And I know that I've been blah, blah, and I just talked at her. And she was really taken aback and she didn't know what to say or what to do. And I hadn't followed the direction. And I kind of knew straight away that was me selfishly wanting to, clear the wreckage of my past. But this is a process. It's a process. And all of us are big book enthusiasts, otherwise we wouldn't be on a book study on a Friday evening, studying the literature, which I absolutely love. So I've got this, it might seem, I put a 1 next to we secure their consent, a 2 next to if we have obtained permission as a question, 3 have consulted with others as a question mark, as in our sponsors, and 4 asked God to help. That's a really important one. Gone straight to God to get that direction. And the drastic step is indicated. Here we go. Here's another like action, action, action. We're in the chapter into action. 5, we must not shrink. Oh, wait for it. I got my sign. Pow, 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 pow. So sparkly. Yay. I love getting that out. Okay. So what we're doing in this process at this stage of the book is we're doing this massive house cleaning in 4 and 5, 6 and 7, and 8 and 9. And this is where we get, we've had all these beautiful promises, the step 5 promises. We can look the world in the eye again. They're back on page 75. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. Feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. Beautiful. So we're about to go into the step 9 promises, and it's just a little, again, I guess it's a little bit of I don't know, maybe a bit of a judgment. Maybe I need to just zip it. But whenever anyone says, oh, read the promises, I remember Peter M, who does a brilliant book study, he went, what's with these pieces of laminate? He's like, laminated paper. And everyone's like, oh, well, who's got the promises? Where are the promises? And it's like, the promises are in the big book, and they're not the only promises. These are the step 9 promises on page 83. The big book is littered with loads of promises. So I like to encourage, where possible, without being judgy or bossy, because that's not me at all. Joke. No, yeah, I like to encourage, when people are reading the promises, that they say, these are the step 9 promises, and they're on page 83. And that kind of gives because if you didn't know where the promises were, you might think that they're on a piece of paper in the room. They're on a piece of laminate, but actually they're in the book. They're contained in the 164. So what a beautiful place for us to kick off on 83. We just did a little recap on that, on how we got here. So if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, now this word, if, my sponsor has, always says, it's such an important word. It's only 2 letters, but it's so important, because this is, if I want these promises to come true, then the guidance is here. Okay, so conditionally, if means introducing a conditional clause on the condition that, in an event that, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development. Now, I don't know, maybe everybody knew what painstaking meant. I don't know, if I don't think I was the only one. I take things quite literally, and I thought painstaking meant that this was going to really hurt. This process of the amends is going to be painful. I actually took it so literally that I was like, stake of pain, painstaking, right? It actually means careful. It means expending, showing or involving great care and effort. It means taking pains to pay close attention to details, meticulous, thorough. Now, those are really good words. If anybody wants to have this dictionary, we do another book study on a Thursday, and we go through all of the words. But I've got this dictionary in PDF form, and if anybody wants it, I can send it to you, and you can just send it to a printer. It cost me £15 to get this 298 pages or something of words. And all of these words, like, painstaking, like if, like phase, development is all in this dictionary. So if dependent on if I am thorough and meticulous about this phase of our development. And I love that it says this phase of our development. Why is it that people stick around in recovery? Why is it that people don't get bored of the big book? Because we're at whatever phase of our development as we continue through the steps. We can have a step 9 experience and go through the steps, and then in however long it feels for you, that you know that you feel that actually I might need a new experience with the book. Or so we're always evolving, we're always changing. This is infinite, but this is talking about the step 9 experience. So if you're going through it for the first time, it's like, whoa, but that's not the end. This is infinite. So about this phase of our development, and that word development means that, doesn't it? We're growing, we're evolving, we're learning. What did we got here? Growth, progress, positive change. We will be amazed before we are halfway through. So this big promise, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. Let's think about the insanity of my illness. How many of us on this meeting thought we knew what was going to happen when we did our amends? Did you think you know what the person was going to say, how they were going to say it, what they were going to say, then what you were going to say, then what they were going to say? Did it work like that? It never does, right? So we will be amazed before we are halfway through. And just recently, I was listening to a share on step 8 and 9, and it was talking about, those odd amends that you've done a big chunk of them, so you kind of think, oh great, I'm into step 12 now. I'm praying, I'm meditating, I'm in the growth steps. A good question to ask is, have I got any old amends that I didn't get to see through, that I didn't get to act on, that I didn't get to put right? And just to be clear, if there is anybody on here that isn't, that word amends, it means to set right. It doesn't mean to say sorry. To say sorry is not what an amends is. It's putting right the wrongs. So we will be amazed before we're halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. I mean, we look up all of the words in the other book study, and new means, it's not existed before. It's completely new. And again, I love the thought of, we can keep on delving deeper into this new freedom and a new happiness. What used to make me happy a year ago in my recovery, like, I'm still finding new senses of freedom and new senses of happiness. So it's quite exciting that it's a never-ending thing. Oh, and just in case anybody is interested, there are 12 promises. If you continue after are these extravagant promises, it works out as 14. But I remember when somebody pointed it out. So number 1 is, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. Number 2 is, we are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Number 3, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. Isn't that an extravagant promise? Because it tells me back on page 62 that I'm riddled with selfishness and self-pity. Who came into the rooms going, yay, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an addict, yay, everything's great? We weren't happy about the past. I did want to shut the door on it. I can't remember the page number off the top of my head. Somebody might be able to help me because my head's a little bit full. But that bit in step 12 where it says, my greatest, it's not asset. Oh, my greatest something has become the dark past. Oh, I shouldn't get distracted. It's going to bug me. My greatest, let it go, Rach. It might come back into my head, or someone might put it in the chat. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. Talk about a powerful statement. We will comprehend the word serenity. Wow. So to comprehend means to understand. It also means to understand the nature and the significance or the meaning of. So to comprehend the word serenity, I don't know if you guys ever sat there before coming into recovery going, I think I just want to comprehend what the word serenity is. I mean, I was just so busy trying to claw my way to success. I wasn't thinking about the word serenity, and it might mean different things to different people, right? But we looked it up, and in this dictionary that we found, the state of being calm, peaceful, and wait for it, untroubled. Isn't that a beautiful definition of serenity? Untroubled. And you think about, and we're going to refer to page 52 in a minute, but you think about how we come into the program, and by step 9, we're not even all the way through the steps, but we're comprehending, we're starting to understand the nature of and understand the significance of an untroubled, calm, peaceful state, and we will know peace. That's a powerful statement, isn't it? We will know peace. Do you remember in the book where it says about quicksand stretched around me, that loneliness and despair, the terror, bewilderment, frustration, despair, impending calamity. There's all of these pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. There's all these horrific examples, an unlovely creature in his cups. All of these terrible examples of alcoholism, and now it's saying we will know peace. We've gone through an inventory which takes us deeply through all of our resentments, all of our fears, and all of our sex conduct. And now we're starting to comprehend serenity and know peace. And, these promises are read out very, very commonly. But just breaking it down like this really makes me think about, like it says in We Agnostics, where it talks about, let's think about what, it asks us to think about all of these words that they use to describe God. What does that mean to us? Well, here today, we're looking at each tiny snippet of the step 9 promises, thinking, what does that mean to me? Comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. Wow. So then we've got, that was number 4. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. 5, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. And you may have heard in recovery people talk about this elevator. They're talking about a scale here that, it can just go lower and lower and lower and lower. It's already told us that we do not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. And the whole way throughout the book, one of the most common themes of the big book is, how can I be useful? How can I be helpful? Page 77 talks about our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. One day I'm going to go through, somebody's probably done it already, but I'd like to go through and just note all of the times, all of the references it says, help others, help others, help others, be useful. And we even, we talk about the word useful and helpful, and it being like full of help, full of use. Remember this big hole in my soul? Well, what starts to happen is I start to get full, useful, helpful. How can I benefit others? We're only in step 9, but we're talking about getting to a psychic change, a spiritual awakening. Yes, yes, I knew you were going to do it, Rob. Thank you. Dark past is the greatest possession we have. There we go, page 182. Thank you. I was totally way off in my head. I was thinking it was about page 100, but that's way off. Thank you for that. So number 6, that feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Again, just a little reference to page 62. It tells us what our trouble is. It tells us the root. It says, just on page 62, second paragraph down, selfishness and self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear, 100 forms of self-delusion, 100 forms of self-seeking, and 100 forms of self-pity. So now it's saying we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Oh, did I get there? That feeling of uselessness. Oh, sorry, I've jumped one. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Then we've got 7. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Number 8, self-seeking will slip away. So all of these things are being built up as we go through the steps. They're being reinforced. What are we doing? We are taking away the things that are objectionable, because in steps 6 and 7, we are asked to become aware of what those objectionable things are. We've learned what they are in steps 4. We've written our inventory. We've confessed the natures of our wrongs to our sponsors, to God, and to ourselves in step 5. So we know what our character defects are. In 6 and 7, we're learning to be aware of them, and we're asking God to remove them. And now in 8 and 9, it's more action. So we're taking those things away and we're adding in the usefulness, the helpfulness, the love, the patience, all of the beautiful things. So number 9, our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Did you guys think that you'd be on a book study on a Friday night? This is our new idea of fun. Who even are we? We like going to bed. Who are we? We like prayer and meditation. Who even are we? We zip it. I can see all the love. I love you guys too. We learn to pause when agitated or doubtful. Who are we? We're not, you know what I think? Oh gosh. A whole new attitude and outlook upon life would change. And I don't know, did this happen for you as well? Doing my 4 and 5, and looking at all my resentments. And when my sponsor helped me flip it and see everything with an entirely different view, I then started to see everything I was resentful at, everything that I was being judgmental about, I do myself. How can I be that same person? Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. We start to realize what is really, really important in life: love, relationships, presence, health, kindness, usefulness. We start to feel that power when we help someone else and we go, whoa, something's happening to me, this spiritual awakening. And then God puts these things. Remember, in step 2, it's came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Well, these things start happening when we start living this way of life, and this reinforces our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. And when we face our those burdens, the shame, the guilt that we've been pushing down, we've been hiding from, we start to see this whole new. I always do this, so forgive me if you've already seen it, but I thought it was really powerful. So coming into recovery, my vision of life was like this: this is what I know, this is what I've seen, this is what I've done, this is what I believe, this is what I think, this is what I feel, this is it. My whole life experience. What the 12 steps has done has gone like that. It's shown me a whole new attitude and outlook upon life. Didn't even know this spiritual realm was there. Yeah. So, number 10, fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. So, it doesn't say that economic insecurity will leave us. It says, or that people will leave us. It says the fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. Can anyone relate to being scared of people? Yeah, scared of people, scared of how I come across, scared of what you think of me, scared of what you might do to me, scared of what you might take away from me. But when I'm relying on God's power, I don't feel scared anymore. When I follow this direction, I seem to have this faith, and I get given these clues that I'm on the right track. So fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. And another weird thing, and this is not everybody's experience because I've heard it go different ways, I believe God gives us what we need, because I've heard very wealthy people talk about coming into recovery and losing their wealth. Maybe God knew that that's what was needed for that person. But I've also, and I've experienced it myself, I had no money ever, always in the red, never, always just trying to keep my head above water, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I always had enough for booze. I always found enough money to get what I needed, but I was skint. I was on the breadline. And as I start to clean up my past, getting into education, getting into reliable work, showing up, being reliable, the economic insecurity starts to leave us because we're more reliable contributors to society. And also, a lot of people that I've met and I feel myself is that I don't need so much. Before, the striving for the property and pomp and prestige, that was my idea of success. But now it's like, oh, thanks, Rob. I can't see what you've put in the chat, but maybe other people can. Now it's like, have I got a big book? Have I got food and shelter? What more do I need? I've got my fellows, I've got God, right? So number 11, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. Do you remember being in the madness and being so volatile and so insane that you couldn't keep up with your own thoughts and beliefs, and everything was like a struggle? It was like a fear driven by that 100 forms of fear. How is it that when we get to step 9, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us? Did you, it's, and this is why the intuitive bit step, you know, it aligns, doesn't it, with step 11, you know, thought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand God, praying only for, you know, so let me, intuitively means without conscious reasoning, instinctively. Have you ever found yourself saying stuff coming out of your face that you're like, oh, where did that come? How did I even know that? It's like this recovery thing, this God consciousness seems to flow through me when I'm in the work, when I'm following the directions. And it's very simple, isn't it? 12 steps. So that's promise 11 of the 9th step promises. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And number 12, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Isn't that beautiful? And in the appendix 2, spiritual awakening, it talks about, you know, sometimes other people realize before we do, you know, and here it's used the word suddenly because maybe it might come at a different time for different people. But there is that moment of realization, whether however long into our recovery we are, but something magical must have happened. If I can only speak for myself, if I couldn't go one day without taking a mind-altering substance, for me to then now have 5.5 years, God is doing for me what I could not do for myself. And that intuitive thinking and that whole new outlook and that self-pity and uselessness disappearing, it's like, whoa. So again, just tapping back into step 11 and meditation, you know, am I making space to reflect on how these promises are showing up in my life today? Am I making space? Because sometimes busy head, sometimes fearful, sometimes the alcoholic, impatient, busy, you know, am I doing enough? There's so much going on. That slowness of like breaking this down is really, I'm finding it really powerful doing it with you today. So thank you for being here alongside me. God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And then it says, are these extravagant promises? We think not. And I've got to say, I hope this doesn't sound judgy again. I'm just going to share it with you. You can. I did a workshop, a traditions workshop, with this woman called Kath, and she's brilliant. And she talked about the Serenity Prayer, and then she talked about what were the other things? I think it was this. It was when we all chant and hold hands. What's it? It works if it works. It works. You know, all of that. And she said, she was quite bold. She sort of said that's actually a rehab thing that's brought into the rooms, and it can be quite off-putting to newcomers because it's a bit like culty or something. And then the question came up in the workshop, well, what's the difference about the Serenity Prayer? Because we hold our hands and we all say the Serenity Prayer together. And she was like, well, that's a prayer. So in my city, in my local town, now everybody says, are these extravagant promises? We think not. And sometimes you can see the little newcomers going, oh, I don't know the words. But so I just wanted to share that. I don't actually say it anymore, just because I'm trying to be a, I don't know. Forgive me if that's whatever. So this is, here we go, some more promises. This is number 13 if you want to add them up. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Now, I don't know, everybody is completely on their own journey with this. So this might just be an opinion, forgive me if it is, but I kind of believe that, I guess it's because my experience is when I came into the rooms, I did everything that was asked of me. So yeah, thanks, Rob. Yeah, keep coming back. It works if you work it, because you're worth it. And the holding hands. So my experience is sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, is that when I did all of the stuff as outlined in this book, it happened for me quite quickly. I also, my experience of being in the rooms is that when people are half in, half out, there are no middle of the road solutions. So, and the result was nil unless we let go absolutely. Half measures availed us nothing. My understanding of recovery is that if I don't follow the clear-cut directions, it will take a long time, because I'm not taking action, because it's an action program. So I'm the kind of alcoholic, one, I'm impatient, two, I'm like all or nothing, and three, I want it all now. I want to be rocketed into the fourth dimension. It says catapulted into the fourth dimension and rocketed into the fourth dimension. So that's how I get these results quickly, is by going at it like an alkie or an addict. For me, that's how it's worked for me. So they are being fulfilled among us. What a beautiful promise. The evidence is all around us. Let's look at the record. Again, I can't remember off the top of my head what page that's on. It's in We Agnostics. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Number 14 of the promises, they will always materialize. And then that beautiful, powerful word, hello, Rob's dog. They will always materialize if, dependent on if we work for them. Beautiful, beautiful. Step 9 promises. I love them. I love all the promises. I don't know which ones are my favorite. Maybe step 10, I'm not sure. But here we go. We're going into, how long have we got? We've got 15 minutes. Okay. So this thought, and how beautiful is that, that we go through all of these steps. And there's a lot of fear mongering around 4 and 5 and 8 and 9. I've just thought about that, actually. Steps 4 and 5, which, you know, I like to call 4 and 5 the freedom steps. But then there's the step 5 promises after, and then we've got 8 and 9, and then we've got the step 9 promises after. So maybe it's like, you got to do some soul searching here. You've got to take some real action here. But let me show you what's, you know, what's at the end, the gold at the end of the rainbow. So this thought brings us to step 10, which suggests, and I always say when people talk about this is a suggested program, it is suggested, but it's only going to work if you work it. The suggestion, if you want to get well, oh, it looks so sparkly today in the light. I love it. I made that with my own hands. Good, isn't it? I like it. So I really want to get well. I really want to be free. We've just covered the harms that we've caused, we've just set right, we've swept the debris away and we've set right the wrongs. Now, this is about us keeping on top of that. And so let's read the actual step on page 59. And it says, step 10 is continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So the beauty of the steps, we've done this massive house cleaning. The things, however old we were when we came into recovery, those resentments that we've had since we were children, against our families, against whatever, we've cleared away the wreckage, and now we're getting to bookend our day, because it says on awakening in a bit, but you know, the step 3 prayer is like a morning prayer, or it might not be a morning prayer for you, but so we're bookending our day. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Let me just focus on this. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory. Now, there are 4 continues in this paragraph, and the step starts with continue. I've squiggly underlined in my book personal, because I don't know if you have ever found yourself doing this. I know that I've done it in the past. An old pattern of behavior is looking outwards. It told us in this step, doesn't it? Other people's things might be glaring. Other people's character defects might be glaring. This is my own personal inventory. And just to be clear about what that word inventory means, it means to make a complete list of. I like that it's actually complete list. It's not just a list, it's a complete list. So continue to take personal inventory. So I've put a little 1 next to that first continue, squiggly underlined personal. And continue, there's the second, to set right any new mistakes as we go along. So we've made amends in step 9, and we're setting right. So again, remember I referenced earlier, step 6 and 7 is an awareness of what the character defects are that are objectionable to us. And then now we're setting them right. It's really important. I've underlined it in my book that it says, as we go along. As we go along. So this is a continuous thing. We vigorously commenced this way of living. I love it when it reminds me in the big book that this is a way of living. It's a way of life. It's a design for living. And vigorously means, we looked it up, let me see. Sorry guys, bear with. What page am I on? 84. I really want to find that. 84, 1 sec. Yeah, here we go. So carried out forcefully and energetically is one definition. And this is the one that I really like, with great energy and enthusiasm. With great energy and enthusiasm. So we vigorously commenced this way of life, way of living, as we cleaned up the past. So, there's a couple of references in the big book to where it says God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free. When we capitalize off our problems and, I'm paraphrasing, make the best of it. And with energy and enthusiasm. So if I can take a positive look on my inventory, my spot check, and not see this is a part of it has to be a really fundamental part of my recovery. I say this, it shocks me that even, you know, my own sponsees, inventory, spot checks and nightly reviews is not something that everybody does, but it's not optional if you want to be free. It's a big part of the book. It's a big part of the program, not the book. It's a part of the program. Because what happens is if I don't do this, I'm carrying these things with me. I've done this big house cleaning of the past, but then I'm going through the day collecting resentment, judgment, criticism, jealousy, whatever, and I'm not clearing it up straight away. So we vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So I'm just thinking about my attitude towards this part of the program. Can I do it with energy and enthusiasm? Can I build it into my life as a way that, yeah, this is going to keep me happy and joyous and free? If I can get quick at it, because it tells us. So we have, oh, I love this line. We have entered the world of the spirit. Yes, thank you. 133. I knew it's a good way to remember it because it rhymes. 133, happy joy. God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free. Thanks, Rob. We have entered the world of the spirit. What does that mean? If we think about, we come into this program battered, bruised, depleted, like smashed to smithereens emotionally, physically. And now we've entered the world of the spirit. You know, when it refers in the book to spirit of the universe, this thing that it's alive. Now I can like look at a tree just swaying in the wind, and I'm like, I'm a part of this spirit of the realm of the spirit now. And it says our next function, talks about function a lot. It talks about purpose. Our next function is to grow. Have I got a? Okay. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. So there's loads of references in the big book to growth, to learning. We just went over step 9, which says this phase of our development. So we're going to grow in understanding and effectiveness. How do we want to be effective? We want to be useful and purposeful and happy and joyous and free and full of serenity and peace. And when we're like that, as God wants us to be, it's very attractive. So people who are struggling like we were are like, yo, how did you get well? What did you do? You look really calm. You look really relaxed. This is the magic of the program. So this is not an overnight matter. I love that bit. Who here has felt really impatient? I want these things gone now. I don't want to be selfish anymore. You know, this is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. So there's the third continue. It should continue for our lifetime. Again, this is another very clear-cut direction that this is a program for life. And I believe if you look at not only our own experiences, but those people who understand step 1, we admitted that we were powerless over alcohol or drugs, that our life has become unmanageable. Those people that understand that I'm like a woman who has lost my legs, I'm never going to grow new ones. This, I have this allergy, it's always going to be here. Those people that know this is going to go on for a lifetime, who understand that this is a program for living, those are the people that stick around, because they're not like, Okay, tell me the steps. Give me the steps. I'm, you know, I want to. They understand. So here we go. We've got the fourth continue. Continue. How long have we got? 2 minutes. I'll probably briefly go over this, but I might re-go over it. So Howard Ebert, I heard this, his acronym for this is WADAT, which I think is very, very helpful. Yeah, we've got 5 clear-cut directions. We've got watch, ask, discuss, amends, and turn. So my sponsees now, I'm like, have you followed the spot check directions on page 84? WADAT. And we're going to read them quickly now. So continue, that means, and it says as we go along, continue to watch. So I've circled that watch. There's the W. Watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. Notice that those 4 words come up a lot. Selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. They're the opposite of the 4 absolutes, which came from the Oxford group. Selfishness, unselfishness, pure. Hey, Rob's a step ahead of me. Yes, and Andreas, yes. So thank you guys for putting that in there. Absolute purity, absolute love, absolute unselfishness, and absolute honesty. Yeah, and Bill Wilson knew that we couldn't relate to those. So we're watching for those things and the rest of our character defects. And it says, when these crop up, so I've actually got a 1 next to continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once. I've double underlined at once. So ask is the A in the WADAT. The second instruction is we ask God at once to remove them. How many times have you got yourself in a funk? I'm asking myself this. Found myself in a resentment or fear and forgotten to pray straight away. That's the direction. Ask God at once to remove them. Number 3, we discuss them with someone immediately. Double underline, immediately. There's the D. WADAT. So we discuss them with someone immediately. That for me is a spot check inventory. I do mine written to my sponsor, or sometimes I do a live call with one of my tribe, and sometimes I text them out, but normally I do it on an app or in, you know, on the phone. I'll just finish this AT. I've just come up to my time. So we ask at once to we discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly. So there's the 4th direction. Make amends quickly. There we go. Double underline quickly. And amends, remember, is to set right. It's not just to say sorry. So we make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. And then this is my favorite one out of all of them. Then, so number 5, then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we could help. So there's the T in WADAT. We resolutely turn our thoughts. Now, resolutely means in an admirably purposeful, determined, and unwavering manner. And I used to misread that, and I used to think it said turn our. What did I used to think it? I thought it meant action, like I had to take action, but it actually says resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we could help. So that's even easier than turning my actions to someone else. If I'm in self, you know, just quickly before I finish, just in the past couple of days, somebody has been given the all clear for a cancer thing that could have been like the chat to say, this is how long you've got to live. Somebody else had their children taken away from them and everything blew up and was going to be terrible. And there was one more, I don't want to go over, but there's such serious things going on with somebody had flashbacks of something that was there's always people out there going through some stuff. And I think about my little piddly day and how my mind can be like, oh, whatever. So this is a really, really powerful place in the book. We refer to it as a spot check inventory. That's what I've been taught. It doesn't say spot check, but the references are as we go along, continue, 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 continue. We vigorously, we at once, immediately, quickly, resolutely, and we will leave it there. Thank you so much for tolerating me while I went a few minutes over. I'm so blessed to be here with you all, and I can't wait to hear if you guys have got anything to say. Thank you.